Hey everyone, welcome to the Show Boys podcast. You got Pixel Nick and Chadwick the Third here with you tonight, and it is about to be House of the Dragon summer. We're taking over the summer. We're kicking everybody off the podcast for the next 8 weeks, and we are covering House of the Dragon season 2. Chad, welcome. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm happy. I'm excited to get back to Westeros. I'm very, very excited. We'll see
So
if it
it's
pans
been
out. We'll see if my excitement pans out. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I mean it's been 2 years, right? So we had all of 2023, no House of the Dragon, which I think is fine because it survived the writer's strike. I don't think they flinched at any of that, if I remember reading that
Yeah, I think
correctly
you're
at the
right.
time.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's funny because, like, in my mind, when the trailer first dropped, I was like, "Holy shit! Like, this is already coming." But if 2 years, like, that's a substantial
Yeah.
amount of time that just flew right by. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think we're starting to get in that kind of habit of just not expecting things like every 10, 12 months, right? So usually
right.
it's like 15 to 18 months. So if they get it within 24, I'm fine with that because there's just so much crap out these days I'm not sitting around necessarily waiting for this. There's so much crap to watch. So I'm happy it's back. I'm excited. I just watched the trailer before jumping on here. It's the first time I watched the trailer, and of course, it looks insane.
Yeah,
Definitely, season one was the like the build up and the just like backstory that maybe in the long run might not be necessary. If this season looks like it's going to be as good as it might be with all of the fighting and like full swing war going on. Um,
hmm
But season one might have that like Game of Thrones season one feel where it's just nice to like go at a
yeah.
slower pace.
It's comforting. Yeah, it's comforting. Yeah, well, I don't know. Normally things that move at a slower pace for me, I'm just not about it. But for whatever reason, it was fine on season one, and we talked about season one at length, and we did a companion series. So go watch that. But I loved the first season of the show,
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
through and through. Loved it. I think if you compare it, and this is not exactly a fair fight per se, but if you compare season one of Game of Thrones to season one of this, it's like not even close. Like House of the Dragon slaughtered it in my eyes. But the reason I say it's not a fair fight is because clearly they had a much bigger budget on the first season of this show versus the first season of Game of Thrones when there
Yeah.
was really no hype behind this world. But yeah, dude, I'm excited. The trailer. I mean, the trailer. I think we see the wall in the trailer. One of the trailers. So I'm excited what's going to be going on there. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of buildup. I did breeze over like a paragraph review of the first episode
Oh.
on IGN. And it was funny because he's complaining about the pace of it. Like the season two is supposed to be at a faster pace. Like, dude, it's the first fucking episode, bro. Like, give them some time. They're not gonna go right out the gate. You know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe he was doing more than a couple episodes. It was literally a paragraph where he just complained about the faster pace being not so fast.
Well, I mean, the trailer definitely makes it seem intense. So like, but I totally get if they did not get to all the intense things shown in the trailer in the first,
Yeah.
hour of 8 hours. And that is one
Right.
difference is I was trying to understand this when I was planning this out for the summer. Is this is 8 episodes, whereas season
It,
one was
it
10 episodes.
it does seem that, but is that confirmed anywhere? Because I see the episode list on there, but if I remembered right, I thought the episode list for the first season was also 8 episodes originally, and then it went to 10.
Yeah, I mean, I've checked like 3, 4 different places, and that's what it keeps coming back as. So we're just gonna have to roll with that. Now, this did happen to me when I did the companion series for the Bad Batch season one. I thought it was 14 episodes, and that's what everything said. And then there were two more after that.
Right. So I don't know
So
if that I thought that happened. But everything that I'm seeing does say that it consists of 8 episodes. And I'll be honest, that fucking sucks, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little I'm still a little sore about the last two episodes or last two seasons of Game of Thrones being shorter on the episodes.
Oh, that's
So
right.
it's
Yeah.
not a freaking direction I would like to see them heading. But
Season
the
1. Yeah, 10.
the good news for this is at least a complete story they're telling, right? Where Game of Thrones was not complete. They're
Mhm.
the last two seasons, maybe even three seasons, were really thrown together off the cuff. This is a complete story. And it's funny, and we talked about this on the thing. Joffrey like blows this whole story up in Game of Thrones. Like if you're listening to I think it's maybe season 4, he blows this whole story wide open. I mean, he talks about everything that happens, everything that pops
Yeah.
off. So it's weird for me, and I don't know. Do you know like where the story's going?
I'm very good at just, like, clearing my mind when I'm watching things, like, I'm kinda, like, immune to spoilers, like, I'm really good at removing things, so I know exactly what you're talking about when Joffrey talks about this entire tale, um, but I'm maybe forcibly not recalling the details, so
Yeah.
luckily for me, somehow, yeah, it's all gonna be new for me. Maybe when it happens, I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that checks out."
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, to be honest with you, if you told me to recite it right now, I don't think I could recite it. It's been several years since heard Joffrey talk about it. Um, but yeah, it's at least a complete story they're going here, and it's unique too because if you look at like Game of Thrones, that was basically a book a season, right? Of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, like one book per season.
They move
This is
stuff
only
around,
one.
but yeah.
Yeah, this is only one book that we're going off here too. So I'm curious. I thought they said, didn't they? We say in the companion series last year, like they were planning 4 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's unconfirmed, obviously, but like it seems like a 3, 4 season sort of thing. And we also kind of talked about how that would be just like a nice size to tell this tale, get in and get out. Because if they, I think it might lose some luster if they stretch it to like a 5 season thing. Because honestly, the story is not nearly as big and complex as like Game of Thrones was. So for this
Right.
to be 5 seasons and Game of Thrones only to be 8, 9, how many? 7, 8?
I think it was 8. Yeah, 8.
I always forget because 13 episodes between the last 2 seasons in my mind is one
Right.
one big
It's
season.
one season. Yeah, it's so annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
they're
why I'm a
jerks.
little salty, and I hope that I hope that it pans out that these things are wrong and it's actually 10 episodes.
Yeah,
But I
I
just hate the
wonder.
wait for that short of. I mean, 8's not bad, but the final,
No,
what was the final season of Game of Thrones, like 6, maybe 5,
6.
like
It was
5 or
7 and
6, like,
6. It's 7 and 6.
and that was like an absurd wait too for that final season. Like it was every bit of
Yeah.
2 years, I think. And then
Yeah.
you wait for 6 episodes, and that's annoying. But
Yeah. I guess in hindsight, now that we know that they potentially are dropping this down to 8, it's interesting that they went from 10 episode seasons on Game of Thrones. Then they drop the last two down to a 7 and a 6. Then they start this off with 10, right? You would think if they were going to stick with it, they would just have done 8 out the gate. So it's interesting that we have a 10 and then what's looking like an 8. I maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised and there's going to be an extra 2 episodes and they're just keeping that under wraps.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. If everything is saying that right now, I've been pretty much outside of the trailers. I've been pretty much closing my eyes to every other little thing about this because I learned again from Game of Thrones that like I don't want to read about any theories. I don't want to read about any of that stuff because most of that stuff can actually pan out being way better than what you're actually going to see on screen. So I'm just keeping my eyes shut to majority of the stuff around this.
yeah. Yeah, and that's what everything. So obviously, if you go out there and you look up, like everything you need to know for season 2, or recaps, or even like season 2, like spoilers, because like you said, it is all out there. It is known what happens. So definitely be careful. In general, when you're looking up stuff for season 2, is there are videos that will straight up just tell you what's probably going to happen because it's already known. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought it was interesting though too. It's funny. Mike asked me, he's like, are there the episode titles out. And I'm like, no, man, like this is a professional enterprise here. Like we don't drop, you know, episode titles ahead of time. Usually they're
Yeah.
not there the night of, and they're not there till the
Right.
next day on HBO.
Right.
Now it's interesting though, when I was looking it up, episode 1 does have a title,
I
supposedly.
saw that. Yeah.
And it's called A Son for a Son. Um, so I think that's interesting. That there's an episode
Yeah.
title out. That's been a
Yeah.
I don't know if Game of Thrones ever did that.
I don't remember. From my memory, it was always like it wasn't even out until the next day. Like
Correct.
the
Yeah.
next day,
It's like
that title was
midnight,
out.
I think, or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
So
remember if you were to like go rewatch it immediately, the title would be there. But usually by then
oh
it's
really?
close to midnight, anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe they're just kind of teasing the first one.
Yeah, I think that's
I mean,
probably it. And the way that season 1 ended, obviously, that's a nice little tease, I think, that the
Yeah.
episode title. But I just don't think like
According to
you
that
should be
guy,
naming
clearly
your
someone doesn't die because he's upset about the pacing.
right. Yeah, right. I just don't think you should be naming the title of your episodes anything even remotely close to a spoiler in any capacity. I don't think you should have to hide the title of your episode, because eventually I'm not going to say we're the only ones that are going to watch this live, but there's a vast majority of people who are going to wait until this is all out so they can binge it. Eventually,
Yeah.
all those titles are going to be up there for a vast majority of the viewers. So
Yeah, that's a good
why
point.
hide them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The descriptions, I get.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you should put any description on whatsoever. But
Yeah, because the episode titles can be like a tease though too.
Yeah,
Which is nice. Kind of mislead you a little bit, which is cool. Now, obviously, it's been 2 years, so HBO has gone through a number of name changes in this time. So while we probably watched this on HBO Go or HBO whatever,
yeah,
2 years ago, just in case anyone's wondering, it is now Max, and it's only Max, and you gotta download that app. It's been like this for a little bit, but there are still devices where I open them and like the HBO Go app is on there or the HBO
yeah.
Max app is on there. You literally have to uninstall and install the brand new application. And I'm in this boat. I have to subscribe to HBO because in the past 6 months I've lost my long time standing HBO subscription for various reasons, cable
We'll see.
providers, yada yada.
I still
So
have.
I need to
still
subscribe.
have-
I need to subscribe.
that might happen to me because I still have a password from a guy that I worked with that hasn't worked with us for like 8 years. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's still good, but it's been good for literally like 15 years, dude. The dude like just does not change his password for any reason.
Yeah, and those are the old school like HBO streaming with like a TV provider, and like in that case, like it's their direct TV login. That stuff ain't changing ever. So I think they finally just like ditched the service. So I'm without HBO. So I was looking at the plans, and we're in this lovely new era where we have many tiers to pick from. First tier being $9.99 with ads and full HD video resolution. Boo.
Whoa, 1080p. Whoa.
Not doing that. This is where I get upset.
Is HD's not even 1080, right? What is HD? Like 720?
No,
Maybe
full
it's
HD.
1080.
It says full HD. HD can be 720, but full HD is usually guaranteed to be 1080. Yeah. Now this is where it gets upsetting. Ad free for $17 a month, 30 downloads to watch on the go, which I think is dumb, and then also full HD.
Still full HD. Gosh, you're kidding me.
We're getting hosed here. All right,
that's
here we go.
Ridiculous.
Here's the tier everybody wants, and the one that's recommended: ultimate ad free. 100 downloads, you get their Dolby Atmos immersive audio and 4K Ultra HD. Whoa. and 2 more
Yeah, how
devices
much?
for $21 a month.
Oh my gosh. Now, I will say, well, like, what's Netflix? What's Netflix's
Similar,
top tier? Similarly
uh,
priced? Because I will say that, like, I feel like Max
Netflix is not
now.
cheap.
No, it's not, yeah. But Max now has got a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah, so okay, so, full HD, $7 a month, 1080p, standard with ads, base. Very actually, these are identical, except Netflix starts a little cheaper. 15.49, so basically almost $17 like HBO.
Yeah.
Full HD still in only 2 devices, and you can start downloading, but no ads. So really,
Huh.
you're doubling your cost. Well, actually, more than doubling your cost to get ad free. Then premium is finally when 4K HDR starts at $23 a month. So Netflix
Ooh.
starts off cheaper, lands more expensive.
Land's more expensive. Interesting. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like Max is I don't know, dude. I find myself being on Max far more than any of the other streaming services just because they have such an absurd amount of stuff on there. If I'm looking for something, typically speaking, it's on Max. You know?
Yeah, I've been going through a large like default kind of like I treat right now. I always use Netflix as just like my like cable TV where I just turn it on, find something to watch, right? Because it always has plenty of stuff on it. I recently canceled my Apple TV because I've kind of watched everything I needed to watch at the time, and I know I'm about to go into a Max subscription, so I'll probably balance. I'll probably phase Max and Apple back and forth.
Yeah.
Hulu comes with Disney now. It's all in the Disney app, which is nice, but also super annoying. This is my gripe with Disney right now is if you have like small children, like if they have no good solution because their like kid profiles are super like reduced in terms of the content, or you have to adjust the rating scale because like I can't find half the stuff my kid needs to watch on the kid profile. So I always go to my profile, but the problem with my profile is it has Hulu things in like the banner. So like American Horror Story with some kind of freaky eight-legged
Oh,
thing
really? I
is
didn't
like
know
the
they
first thing you see.
I didn't
Yeah.
know they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
it
funny
freaks my
because
son out every time.
oh, I bet. Yeah. It's funny though because I remember I think it was when we were doing Shogun, when Shogun was airing. I
Yes.
remember looking up something about it and it popped up, on Google and it will tell you where it's at and it said Disney Plus. I'm like, it's on freaking Disney
Yep.
Plus. Now, I thought because there are a lot of countries that do that. There are a lot of countries that have like FX stuff or super adult stuff on Disney. Um, so I thought maybe it was just a mix up there, but I didn't know they combined them all like that. What's the point?
Mhm.
Are they trying to like do a
One app.
max and just have one app? Yeah.
Yeah, they want their ESPN, their Hulu, all of it's right now. Hulu and Disney Plus are fluidly in one app. It's you can't tell. The only time you can tell is when you get an ad on a Hulu thing. You're like, oh, this is from Hulu because there's an ad on it. Um,
Interesting. Yeah, I think
so like,
that's a good strategy, especially with ESPN, dude. And I've talked about it on the podcast. ESPN streaming app is hot garbage. Like
yeah,
the word,
it's
it's
trash.
laggy. You can't even search if you search the exact title of something, it won't pop up. Like you have to go find it. You have to like go find it in the mass amounts of stuff that's on there. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. But the Hulu thing, I don't get because you're still going to have that live TV app, right? For the live stuff.
Yeah, I guess like they still have both apps. It's just I think the streaming library maybe is just shared with it. That's how it kind of seems to me. But there's now a Hulu button, like you would have a Star Wars and Marvel button, and there's a Hulu button. So maybe if you go to the Hulu button, you're more of a Hulu experience.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, definitely evolving landscape. So yeah, I'll fire up my Max one. I obviously have to do the $21. Maybe I'll just do it for the 2 months and watch a bunch of Max stuff. But
Yeah.
I got to get the 4K and
Got to.
all the
Yeah.
jam with it because I just couldn't believe that. They
That's
drag
dirty. Yeah,
they
that's real
force you
dirty, to be
into
honest. Yeah. I
that
guess
alone.
that's it's really the only thing they have besides more screens, right? To make you go to that higher thing is to withhold the 4K, which is a
Yeah,
dirty
and if
freaking
you need many
strategy.
devices. Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
need many devices, but it only goes up to 4 then, in your household. And then I'll see
Yeah.
Netflix does the thing is if they detect 2 households, they will then say, "Hey, you can pay an extra $7 a month to have 2 households on your account." Um,
Dude, I run into that a lot, and it pisses me off actually because I watch Hulu like at the fire department, but my location obviously shows that I'm at the fire
yep.
department and not my house. So I run into that a lot, but it pisses me off because I'm paying for that fucking thing. It doesn't matter what my location is. That's my workplace. So there needs to be a workplace thing on there or something that I can put like, what the fuck? I'm paying for your shit and now I can't use it because I'm not home. Like that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And you only get like a certain amount of home changes and shit. Like it's whatever, dude. Like that their way of doing it pisses me off more than the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Max does any of that stuff. They just want you to pay up and
Yeah. Pay
do
your
it.
money.
So, I'll be subscribing this week so I can watch it on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, June 16th. Um, ah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
heard
I'm
they changed the
excited.
intro. That's word on the street.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I thought the
I
intro,
don't know
we
about the
talked about it. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the music changed. I think it's the graphic, which
The
makes sense in
graphic
my
of it.
mind. Um,
Yeah, and I think Game of Thrones always changed, but not like big changes until the final season, right? There
right.
were like little changes. Castles will be taken over by different people on the map and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, so I wonder,
Speaking
yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, speaking of castles, you see a few castles in the trailer, and you even see some Lannisters, which is exciting.
Yeah,
And we get a lot more, hopefully, a lot more house action from the other houses, kind of creeping up. So I would love to see
yeah.
some early day Lannisters marching around.
So this is where I think that this season has the potential to maybe not be the balls to the wall, full on war. Where we built up to the war in the first season, right? The first season was
Mhm.
really about learning the characters, learning the dynamics of everybody, building up to that war. But now we need to build armies to fight this war, right? So I think that a good chunk of the season might be a lot of meetings and trying to get people on the side. So I can see where this season has the potential to not be full blown all out war right out the gate at least.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to drag their feet and try to prevent and also not start a war before you aren't guaranteed to win, right? Because
Right.
usually that's how wars kind of operate. It's like very rarely like people plunge into a war. They're like, you know what, we're just gonna kind of roll the dice here. Like usually people want to like have a pretty good hand and say, yeah, we're gonna win. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean there could easily be 4 episodes of some action, per usual, but largely people moving the chess pieces around, trying to get ready.
Yeah. And we saw a little bit of that, maybe very late in the first season. We saw the Baratheon, and that might have been the final episode where uh see, I'm gonna have to
Get
remember
burned.
all the names. That's what I need to get back all the names because they all have like similar names. But the eye patch dude with the freaking ruby eye, he goes to meet with the Baratheons at the same time as the younger son of Rhaenyra goes to meet the Baratheons, and that's when a son for a son comes up. I think is the title episode.
Yeah, because Aemon and Aegon go there.
Yes, that's it. There you go.
And it Jace lives. His younger brother is the one that dies.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it might have just been Aemon that went there. Actually, right? I think it was just Aemon because I think he was already there
yeah, he
when
was already
Jace
there prior.
arrived. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's like one of my favorite shots of the first season is that big ass dragon in the storm like that's what I'm most excited about, is seeing that fucking dragon again, dude. Because every visual from that first season of, what is that, Vagar? What is that dragon's name? The big,
Yeah, Aemon rides
is it
Vagar.
Vagar? Okay. Um, yeah, we'll see. I don't know, dude. That's I'm a little salty about, I didn't see in the trailer, and I didn't really think they were going to do this again. But the younger actresses are like nowhere to be seen in the trailer. I thought maybe we would get, and maybe we will in the show, and they're not showing it in the trailer. But the younger actresses of Rhaenyra and Allison, who I thought, I enjoyed them more than the older actresses. I don't
Yeah.
know if you'd agree with that. I was hoping that we could get something this season where it's like another flashback or something like that.
Well, if they do that, they will not show that in the
Not
trailer,
show
I
it.
think.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
figured. Yeah.
And Luke is the one that dies.
Yeah.
Son of
So I think that's setting up that
Sheriff.
first episode of Son for Son. Obviously, Rhaenyra is going to be out for blood after finding out what happened. And I think she finds out
Yeah.
the last scene of season 1. But yeah, it's
Yes.
funny that, like, when I was thinking about it earlier, it was funny how, like, my allegiances, even through the companion series, were shifting back and forth. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
was in the beginning, I was like kind of on the green side, right? Because I love Otto. I think Otto's freaking awesome. He reminds me of Tywin. But then just the way the second half of the season panned out, I'm like, these guys are kind of shitbags. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of shitty. So now I've definitely flipped, and I mean, I think where do you land? I can't remember on the side.
I've
Like, have
always
you
been
picked a
team.
side?
Yeah, I feel like I've always just been Team Black.
Yeah,
Just because, like we talked about, and I mean, it's just facts of it is, Rhaenyra is the rightful ruler. Like, it's just how it is.
yeah,
There's numerous things that plants that in there. Like, first off, every house swore that many decades ago that they would be loyal to her and she would succeed her father.
yeah,
And while I do get why Allison would just kind of ignorantly be like, "Oh, deathbed. Yeah, Aegon. I have no context of any Targaryen stuff because I'm not cool enough to know Targaryen stuff." That must be what he's doing because my dad makes me think of power all the time. Um,
and I'm sure that we talked about this in that first season. Do we think that Allison, like, genuinely thought that's what he was saying, or is she just saying that
I
to get her
think
son on the throne?
I think if she heard the actual story of Aegon the Conqueror and A Song of Fire and Ice, she would totally like be like, "Shit,
Shit,
I
that's
uh,
but you have to assume.
I misunderstood that, but I'm knee deep in this shithole that I've built for myself." I think she genuinely, I would like say she ignorantly just believed what she wanted to hear. Because of her father, because of just everything that's going on. Like, it's just convenient for that to be what he said. So it's really kind of the eyes of the beholder. She heard what she wanted to hear. Um, I really though think she is a good person. And like I could even see her, and they kind of allude to this a little bit because Amon in the trailer is like he's telling Cole, who's a giant douchebag too.
Yeah.
At this point, he was like, my mother, Allison, has love for the enemy, right? Like that's stupid. We need to like we have no room to like have sympathy for them. So I think Allison like truly at some point might, you know, not side or like switch sides or anything, but totally do something that undermines her own agenda and her own family's agenda because she either sees the light and like gets where she messed up. I really think she could have like a redemption thing there, at least to herself. Because I don't
Yeah.
think she is a bad person inherently.
I don't it's funny too, because there is a substantial, and it's not really played up very well, I think, in the first season. There is a substantial flip between young Alicent and old Alicent. And it basically happens off screen in the time that they age, right? There's a little things here and there that pick up on it, but she is like a totally different character in that second half of the season. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think she's as smart as maybe she thinks that she is. But you
That
have
too.
to assume too with the Aegon story that like Viserys would have told her probably in multiple occasions bits
Yeah,
and
it's no
pieces of that
secret.
story. Like he talked about it nonstop, basically. So you would have to
Yeah,
think she's heard it.
yeah, but I think the part that he told Rhaenyra in front of the dragon skull down in the like castle, I don't think that part he's ever told anyone else except
Right.
her.
Right.
Because like, yeah, Alicent knows the story of Aegon the Conqueror and all that, but what he was obviously referring to on his deathbed was like Aegon's, you know, his true purpose and like for the kingdom and like why the dragons exist and what they must do. Um, it's kind of like a misdirection kind of thing where here's the story, real sounds real cool and badass and scary to keep everybody in line, but really we're here to protect everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm curious to see how big of a part that little story is going to play because we are seeing the wall. We did see the wall in the trailer for like a half-second snippet. So I'm curious of because it's way too early to be talking about White Walkers, right?
oh
Unless it's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
that impending doom. Nobody knows when they're coming, so they're prepping for it in the background, type of deal.
yeah, yeah. But the only person that would be having them prep would be Rhaenyra, and she would have to have some sort of ability to do an edict to say like, "Hey, we need to man the wall." Like, I don't think she has the ability
Yeah,
to do that.
I'm just curious why we would be seeing the wall unless it's just a fan service thing,
Could be
you
a fan
know?
service thing, and it's just the do ties back to what people are familiar with.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. There could be. Well, this is quite a while before Game of Thrones, so
right. Well, a vast, yeah. White Walker wise, I mean, at the end of the day, you really could throw the White Walkers in here. You could just say that they sent scouts out first,
yeah,
thousands of
yeah,
years before to scope out what was going on. And I think that's when they talked about that Jon Snow sequel series, I was like that would be an interesting way to take that story where the White Walkers we see in Game of Thrones were literally just scouts that were scouting out and fucking shit up when they could, but that's not the actual big threat that's coming.
hmm,
Just because I'm salty about the way that story panned out, I needed more out of it.
yeah. Well,
Um,
perhaps I mean I could see her flying up there to like check it out. Be like, is my father crazy? Like, what's he talking about? Maybe there is a scene like that where they go up there and check things out and like just kind of weigh what's happening. Like, is this really what we're doing? Like, what's the plan here?
right, and even if that's like her pitch to the other houses for why they need to join her side, because I have this secret information that these things are coming. This is the entire reason that Aegon brought everybody together. These things are gonna massacre us if we don't come together. Because you have to think, why else throw that line in the first season about the White Walkers outside of just fan service like that discussion that they have has to have some sort of deep meaning behind it. So maybe that's
Yeah,
her sales pitch, and that's what I
maybe.
mean. That's her sales pitch for joining the black side.
Well, silly
Which,
she should even have to do a sales pitch. They all swore their
yeah,
freaking loyalty to her.
yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what houses. I'm curious to see what houses are going to hold strong to that, and which ones could care less. And I think I probably know which ones are gonna care less. You think the Lannisters haven't sworn one way or the other, right?
Lance sort of seemed like a free agent. They're always in pretty good with the Targaryens early in season one, like with their father and stuff. I think
Yeah.
this is right before or as they are getting very wealthy.
Yeah, I think
They
it's
weren't
coming.
quite they weren't quite as prominent yet,
Right.
for sure. Because
Yeah.
basically, I think maybe the 100 years before Game of Thrones starts is when they like found their gold mines and got like mega wealthy.
I think it was basically all Tywin, right? I don't think it was 100 years. Because he taught, if you
Right.
watch it, if you remember those like little
Like
YouTube
his father.
videos, yeah, his father was like a shitbag that almost bankrupt the entire
Yep.
house and everything he talks about. So, um, yeah, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of Tywin's, or sorry, there was a lot of Lannister stuff in that first season. Just little snippets here or there where he's trying to marry um Rhaenyra, and she's basically not interested. So yeah, I think you're probably right on the Lannisters landing on the black side, just because of where their allegiances land thousands of years later when Game of Thrones peaks up. Because I would
Yeah.
imagine that shit holds true for several years.
Yeah. And Damon has obviously a very Damon line in the trailer where he's like, I'm surprised they are so eager to die, right? And I'm pretty sure he's referring to like the houses that are siding against them. He's like, we're just gonna melt them. Like, and
Yeah,
that's Lannisters aren't stupid by any stretch of the imagination. They're like, yeah, the math doesn't add up. We'll do something clever. We're on this side of King's Landing, you guys are on that side of King's Landing. It works out. And we don't want to get melted by dragon fire. That's a
yeah.
cold.
Well,
That's a cold
the
move.
problem with that line of thinking is either way you're fucked. Either way you're fucked. You're gonna get melted. Because this is a civil war between a house
Yeah,
that has
true.
dragons, right? And
Yeah,
while the Targaryens are on the black side, the big dragon is on the green side. You know what I mean? And that thing, I don't care what anybody says, that thing's an X factor. Like that's a big son of a bitch. And we saw it at the end of the first season, just how much bigger that thing was compared to and I can't remember the name of the dragon that the Jason or whatever the name of the kid was either. But that thing's an X factor for sure.
yeah. Rhaegar is or Vagar,
Va- I think it's
Vagar.
Vagar. Yeah, Vagar.
Yeah, Vagar is definitely an X factor. And also his rider, Aemond, is like,
Worst case scenario. Yeah, he's like the Joffrey riding on the
yeah,
dragon.
he
Yeah.
he's like a capable Joffrey. I think his brother is more of the Joffrey like mentality. Well,
Yeah.
I think Aemond and or sorry, Aegon and Aemond are like Joffrey and two.
Yeah.
Um, like one is kind of like a lazy shitbag that is just a douche, and then the other one
Yeah.
is like a violent
A violent
shitbag.
shit bag. Yeah.
Yeah, the other lazy and violent, just kind of split up there.
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. The what I'm most excited for this season is just more Damon, dude. Like Matt
Oh yeah,
Smith's Damon is phenomenal, and he's phenomenal in the trailer. But I am also really excited for Eamon. I thought Eamon's in that second half of the season was great, dude. I think he's got the potential to be a top character in this show if the cards are played right.
yeah. And we talked about that in the first season too, where Aemon kind of idolizes Damon, I believe, as a uncle. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
respects him for
because
sure. Yeah, respects him for
respects
sure.
him, not out of like love or anything, but like this guy does some wicked shit, and I too want to do some wicked shit. Um,
Yeah,
that's Eamon's goal, and they're both number twos. Their brothers are the kings, for better or less, because Aegon is his brother who is king. Same situation as Damon, so they're really kind of two peas in a pod, and they
yeah,
ride pretty ferocious dragons because Melee's is pretty wild too. The
yeah,
way that thing moves.
yeah. That thing, yeah, it's cool because It's just cool. I just like watching the new dragons. You know what I mean? Because the dragons in Game of Thrones were virtually identical. They're all the same build,
Yeah.
everything. So
Well,
his is the first. Damon's is the first one that is like wildly built different than all the other ones. Even Vagar is huge, but he's still that same Game of Thrones style dragon, just a
yeah,
big beefier version of it.
very beefy.
Very beefy, yeah, very beefy. But yeah, dude,
Yeah,
I like until they figure out what the hell they're going to do about Vagar, I think this war is very lopsided because I think that is the biggest X factor that we have currently. That the biggest X factors we have are Vagar on the green side, and all the houses that pled fealty to the black side. Those are the two big X factors, right?
yeah. And I think
So
there's going to be a lot of the young ones wanting to just straight up take their dragons and just go light it up. And a
yeah,
lot of the older family members are going to be much more reluctant to do that because one, while they do have Vagar, they're also not trying to get King's Landing melted to a
right,
crisp.
right,
But also, I mean, the blacks aren't trying to melt King's Landing to a crisp. I mean, maybe they might if they have to, but
yeah.
I think that's a lot of Rhaenyra's problem is like she's like, my purpose is to protect the kingdom, which I now must have to fight very violently for at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the buildup was great in that first season, so I can't wait to see where we go. But I do have concern, like I said earlier, that a good chunk of this season could be a lot of, and not even concern because I love seeing that negotiating between houses. But if everybody's thinking this is going to be the war in season 2, I don't know that
Yeah.
we're going to get a lot of that. But
Yeah, they did have some good, which I appreciate. They did have some good shots of some faction armies rolling about, some very gladiator esque kind of opening scenes where they're coming through the woods and they're got their little siege equipment. So that stuff always is just exciting to see. So um,
yeah, that's
a lot
you
of
know I got
locations too, which is
yeah
cool.
a lot of
Was that
locations,
one place
which is sweet.
Dorne with the like sandy castle walls or no?
I think so. But the Dorn, so the Dorn are like split right
That
now, right? The Dornish are they split
I feel like
because
they
they were
don't participate in any of this.
yeah because I remember that they were split during Aegon. They were the only one that resisted Aegon's dragons, and I remember Tywin talking to Oberyn about it, or is it
Yeah,
Oberyn? Yeah.
yeah, good
Um,
boy.
my boy, I forgot his name. It's funny. I still find myself like every couple of months going and watching like all his scenes on YouTube just because he's such a good character. But yeah, we'll see. I'm always super intrigued by Dorn. Like that's got the most like allure to me because we just didn't see a lot of it, right? We don't know a
Mhm.
lot about what goes on down there. And my favorite character is from there. That helps too. But yeah, I think you might be right on that one. We'll see. I don't know. I thought they didn't participate in any of this too, and maybe they don't. Maybe someone's going to go down there try to get them, and they're going to bail out and not do it.
Yeah, it looks like Cole's going to see some action. Hopefully, he dies.
I
Um,
fucking dude, that's another character that did a total freaking
I
180.
know
Because I
the
loved Cole in
Greens
the
had a lot
first.
of good characters in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, great characters in those opening, and then he's a total freaking douche now, and it looks like it's going to get worse this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you're hanging out with your crush's son, who's talking shit about his mother. Um, like
Yeah,
Cole's just like he's just
yeah,
lurking,
yeah.
being a goon.
Yeah, he's a shitbag. I can't wait to see Laris. I don't think we saw Laris in any of the trailers. Maybe we did. The little beetle dude. What did he have on his
Yeah.
cane? Was it like a beetle or something?
I forget what that ended up
The foot
being. I
fetish guy.
remember.
You know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that
okay.
guy,
Um, yeah, I'll be curious to
Laris,
see
Laris
Laris.
Strong.
Laris Strong. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's the little
Um,
finger
he
who
is the
burned his
little.
family alive at Harrenhal. Rip.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I also think that it's hilarious that they call him Clubfoot and he has a foot fetish. That cracks me up. Like he's just envious of people that have normal feet. But yeah, I can't wait to see more of him. See where he's gonna go. I think
It's
he's
also
probably gonna be a
crazy.
major character, right?
Yeah, and it's also crazy too. I mean, he's obviously kind of the resident Littlefinger, which means he just kind of hangs out near the throne all the time. So naturally, he's on the green side at the moment. But like, he is the uncle to Rhaenyra's sons,
Right.
because, well, unofficially, officially, bastards and all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
which is weird, but like, he is their uncle, and like, he has some family ties there. Did his
Yeah, but
brother
we
live,
see
or is he
no, they're
died?
dead. Yeah, the
Yeah,
dad and the brother burn alive. So we see what kind of allegiance he has to his family. Like he's not going to give a shit about these
true.
bastard kids that are on the other side of the war for sure.
Yeah.
I had something that I wanted to bring up and I can't freaking remember. Okay. Oh, you talked about the bastard thing. I was watching a recap earlier of Damon in the throne room lopping off the dude's head. Like that
Mhm.
scene, dude. That scene. If I had to describe Damon in one scene, that scene right there is the best of season one, where he basically eggs him on to say it, and then lops his head off after he
Yeah.
says it. Like it's so good, dude.
Oh, it's so
And
good.
I've never. I know you're a big Matt Smith guy. I can't think of anything that I have seen him in outside of this. To be
Really?
honest, this is my first. Yeah, this might be my
Well,
first experience with him.
yeah. Well, I'm freaking The Crown. He's in a major period of The Crown where he's just awesome in. He arguably plays the best. Him and who plays the Queen. Those are just my favorite seasons and period, because it's like the 50s and 60s, so a lot of cool stuff's kind of happening. But he's in that. I believe he's Doctor Who, or to some degree, so a lot of people are big fans of him from there. Obviously, does a ton of British stuff. Um, he was in Morbius, the movie that didn't do too well with Jared Leto.
Oh, was he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was like his best friend.
I know that I think he played Doctor Who at some point, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's my only. I know nothing about Doctor Who, but I've caught snippets of it in like YouTube shorts and stuff. So I've seen him in that, but this is like my first exposure to him. And yeah, dude, what a great actor. He's a great actor. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's good. One thing that did not really materialize a ton in season one, and like you would think it, I think we just expected more of it, but that like Massaria, the like white uh
Yeah.
worm,
Yeah.
her kind of like a prelude to Varys, in a sense, with all her little children spies and
Yep.
kind of working flea bottom and all that stuff. Uh
Yeah, we'll see. That became like just a freaking throwaway character, right? Like, was there anything meaningful that came from that?
that's the problem, is she like popped up during like Damon and Rhaenyra's like stint out, into the, because she like housed them or whatever, like she
Yeah.
saw them. She was in on that. But like uh I want to call him Varys. Laris burned down one of her houses toward the end there. I forget the exact reason, but she was briefly there at the end too, because one of her brothels or whatever got burnt down
Yeah.
during the Ascension. Um,
Yeah, she's
so
like the competitor to Laris, right? The Laris
yeah,
of yeah.
yeah. So
uh
maybe some of that will come together a little bit more, because obviously we got set up with her and Laris in season one, so maybe they'll play a little bit more of a stronger role, being kind of the bee's knees in the underground of King's Landing, which is always important to have.
right. So who out of everybody that's already taken a side, Do you think anybody could flip? Primarily,
Um,
primarily the
Characters or
Valerians
factions?
factions.
Oh yeah.
Factions. Well, we can do characters. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Either one. I'm curious about the Valerians just because, or Valerian, or however they say it in the show. Just because I don't know, dude. There's something weird about them. Don't you think? I don't know what it is. They don't seem like so gung ho on the.
Right, because Renice is because she was burned many time ago when you know he became
Yeah.
king, and it should have been her. So they've always had that against the Targaryens. But obviously, she made the awesome escape out
Right.
of the Dragon Temple. What is that place? The
Yeah.
Dragon Dome, the Thunder Dome.
The Thunderdome. Yeah. What was that? The Dragon Pit. Dragon Pit.
Yeah, yeah. So like,
Yeah.
it obviously makes a break for it and like kind of does the right thing and goes and warns Rhaenyra and all that. But yeah, they do have this like weird, fragile relation to Rhaenyra and like her cause.
But
Like
I'm
I think they know it's the
curious,
right thing, but
and
they
I'm
do
curious
have a
if
lot
she
of
won't.
kids.
If she won't, because she feels like she's fighting for what she didn't get. You know what I mean? She's
Right.
fighting to put a woman on the throne.
Yeah. That's what I mean is like they don't really have much reason to go team green because it's blood. It's also convenient too. And they have the marriage of doesn't one of Damon's sons or daughters or no,
He,
he his
he
first wife.
his
Yeah.
first wife was a Valerian, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his daughters are yeah, cuz
Yeah, I
they
forgot about
were
that. You're right.
yep,
Yeah.
cuz they
Yeah.
left for a while and they came back. Um and like that's how they're trying to snatch up the rest of the dragons.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like looking through the names. I'm like, I think at least of the characters that we know now, and I'm sure we're going to get some new characters introduced in season two. But of the characters now, like it's pretty much like nobody. It's basically family on family, right? Hightower on Targaryen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Corlys and Rhaenys are the only
Outside of like
X factors.
factions hopping around, I would like to think a major family member with a dragon will flip a side. And I would like to say it's going to come from Team Green flipping the Team Black. Um, but I would like to think that's going to happen in this season. Is like a major character will make a flip,
Yeah,
and that could potentially cause Alicent if a major character, one of her family or sons or whatever, flips from green to black, like that would give her a lot more sympathy on top of the sympathy she already has for Team Black in the first place because of Rhaenyra. So
right.
I don't know. I feel like there could be a lot of implosion on Team Green side, kind of like a identity crisis, and like then they start doing drastic things like they typically do.
Yeah. We'll see. You know, I kind of forgot like just how shitbaggy everything panned out for them at the end there, and how much like King's Landing like totally changed when they took over. Remember, it was like this bustling, especially the castle
Oh
was like
yeah,
bustling, and then when they took over, there's like people fucking hanging, and it's dark, and everyone's in prison, and there's nobody walking around. So I love that parallel. So I hope we see a little bit more of that in season two, where it's just like these guys need to go, and they're usurpers, and I don't like
yeah,
usurpers. Like
yeah.
you know what I
They're a
mean?
problem. They're a
They're a
problem for
problem.
sure. And I like that they aesthetically made like yeah they made that place like a depressing church.
Yeah, yeah,
Very just or like a tomb
yeah,
really.
yep,
Because even when Rhaenyra was having her baby during the first like big time jump, and she was like going through the halls, like that place is hopping, and
yeah,
like
popping, yeah,
Targaryens were all about just like life, and like they had parties for every occasion, and then the High Tower's just like, grr.
Yeah, it's the I mean, it's the difference between wartime King's Landing and peacetime King's Landing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It became a bustling city almost on the inside of that, but now it's wartime, so things are gonna tighten down a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I do wanna talk about probably one of my top 3 favorite characters on the show, Otto Hightower a little
Hmm.
bit. Um is he the one pulling the strings behind the scene? Is he the Tywin of the show, you think? Because really, if you look at everything, it's got a potential, and they even kind of tease this in season 1, where Alicent and him are kind of at odds at times, primarily when they're trying to find Aegon through the city, and they have like 2 different factions going out to try and find him, one for Otto, one for Alicent, which even to this day, I still don't understand why both of them were trying to find them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're going back to the same place, and Alicent seemingly lands on the side of her father more often than not.
Yes. She definitely she definitely goes through many like she thinks she knows what she's doing, but she panics when she gets like into the thick of it and then just really defaults to what her father would do or says to do. Um but there's been mild times where he does lose control of her.
Yeah,
And she's kind of moving on her own accord, but I feel like those movements are always just kind of in a fairer direction, and it's ultimately when she hits those crisis points, she always just defaults back to her father. So I don't really think he's like pulling the strings and making all the magic happen quite to the degree Tywin did. Because Tywin had like a pretty firm grip on like
everything. Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It's like Otto's kind of like an early edition of Tywin as a hand where like has power, right, but really just kind of salts to the usual. And I feel like Otto's kind of like the first instance of like, as the hand, I can do a little bit more than just advise. I can make some deals and orchestrate things. Whereas like by time Tywin is hand, like he's just like the king
Already
of the
set.
realm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm curious. I'm curious to see where Otto goes this season. Probably more than any of the other characters, really. Just because I think
Maybe he's the
Allison,
flipper.
maybe he is the flipper. That would be actually, you might be right there, because I think Allison at some point is going to stop listening to Otto. She's gonna realize that like all this shit that she did for the king, going to his chambers and bringing him gifts and all this shit, was set up by Otto, right? It wasn't, and she knows that because he told her to go
Yeah.
do it. Put on a nice dress, go visit the king. So she's eventually going to wise up. And the cool thing about Allison that I loved about the first season is that the younger version of her was like super nervous. She's always picking her nails, like she can't sit still. This one in the second half of the season is like locked in. You don't see any nail picking. You don't see any of that stuff going on. Um, so Hightower, I mean, Otto's got a chance to lose grasp on her as she kind of folds into her own agenda, right?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this, like how much is she going to have the Cersei arc? Um, because Cersei went through a similar arc as well, where she was more under the thumb of her father,
Yep.
and the planning of everyone else to a point where she, becomes queen, which is my favorite part of Game of Thrones to this day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
she kind of
think
she breaks under it at the end. It's just too much to manage.
yeah, and she fought, at least in her adulthood, she fought against her father on multiple
Oh,
occasions. I mean,
yes.
that's in basically the entirety of the show. She's fighting against her father and trying to get back at her father. So I'd be curious to see if Allison does take that same route where she kind of realizes, because Allison was pretty submissive with everything going on when she was younger, right? But now,
Yep.
like I said, she's a totally different character than that young Allison. Totally different. If you would have told me they were two totally different characters, I'd believe you, because they're not even. There's nothing even remotely close to tying them together yet. So
Yeah.
we'll see. If she keeps going down this path of I'm the woman, I'm making the decisions, or she's gonna lean on her father a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, she's gonna, she's probably gonna lose a son in all this. That never goes well.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, she's gonna have a really good arc. Honestly, her arc, like, while it's annoying at times, like, she has one of the better arcs, in my opinion, as a character, because she hits a lot of highs and lows and, like, really changes over the course of it. Where Rhaenyra is a little bit more on, like, an upward trend the whole time to become queen, and continues to grow into her own. Where the characters with identity crisis, like, sometimes are really good, and
Yeah.
she's got frequent identity crisis, and she has to resolve them.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see her reaction to the final episode of the first
Yeah.
season, because obviously that was not the plan, right? To go there and kill this kid. There's two things that I want to see out of that scene is her reaction, because we've already seen Rhaenyra's brief, final scene reaction where she kind of doubles over, obviously, because she lost a kid. But Allison, I want to see Allison's reaction. I want to see if she's pissed or if she's just like, all right, it's freaking go time now, like no turning back. But I also am curious to see if we will see more of the young dragon rider unable to control the dragon like we did in that first season, which is that, I
Yeah.
mean, Aemon did not mean to kill him. He was just fucking with
Correct.
him, and Vagar kind of took over and finished it. So I'd be curious to see how much that comes into play through the war, where they're trying to do a specific thing and they can't control the dragon to do so.
Yeah, and I mean, and that makes me think about, like, will we have any time jumps? Like, will we just time jump away from these problems where the younger riders are unable to control their dragons to the degree that Damon can? Because, I mean, now you say Vagar is the X factor. He is an X factor, but also his rider is an X factor, both in that he is wild and violent and unpredictable, but also he is inexperienced. Whereas, like, Damon is so precise in everything he does, and he's hyper confident. He's kind of the Jamie Lannister in that department for all of this. Is he's just a highly capable knight, um, brother to the king. As top dog as you can get, prince of the realm.
Right.
And the same thing, obviously, with Nice, very experienced dragon rider, much older. And Rhaenyra isn't anything to shy away from either. So there's a big experience gap as well. So I wonder if we're gonna time skip away from those gaps, and we're gonna be like, all right, everyone's kind of on an even playing field here because Aemon's has he's really mastered Vagar. Who knows? But it's like, yeah, how long will that be a factor?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that Vagar is the biggest X factor, because it's both ways, right? Because it can really backfire on the Greens pretty substantially if they think they have this big X factor, but don't know that he can't be controlled like the rest of the dragons. Because they
Does he
send him to
park
do
Vig?
some specific thing that's very important, but Eamon can't get it done because Vagar's a shit show and just wants to do his own thing. He's been wild for however long they said in the show. He's just been chilling.
Have
So,
they shown Vagar in King's Landing? They park him in the dragon pit, or, like, Vagar is
dude, I don't.
massive.
Yeah, they have not. Yeah,
Uh,
they have not showed him. The only time we saw him parked was when Eamon took him over, and I thought that was like
that
it
was on the
was not King's
beach
Landing.
in
Yeah, it was on a beach
yeah,
somewhere. And
that was
maybe
when they all
actually
met.
that might be the sand walls that you were talking about. What was that place that they were at?
So they were on
It was
the
Essos, right? Was it
Valerian.
Essos?
No, they're on the Valerian island during that big family event. I think it was like the death of the Valerian king, the dad. There was a big family event on that because that's when all the kids, he got stabbed, lost his eye, um, goes and like kindles his taming of Vagar. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that was all on there in that island, not Essos. Essos is just where
Yeah.
Damon and his family hung out in their time away, but that is
I'm
where they
pretty
picked up a couple
sure
dragons.
I'm pretty sure that so you're talking two different scenes there. I think the eye stabbing happened in King's Landing. I think the Vagar
Okay,
stealing happened in Essos, but they were there for something because they were there, obviously. But I can't
yeah,
remember what it was
but
for.
I didn't think Aemon went to Essos.
I didn't think he did either.
I think they all went to the Valerian Island, and that's where that was happening. But why was Vagar there?
Why was Vagar there? Yeah.
Just on the beach while
Well,
he wandered the beach.
didn't because I thought the original plan was one of Damon's daughters was gonna take Vagar, right? And then he stole
Correct.
it kind
Yep.
of under her. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were
we'll have to
they were all there together for some reason, or another. And yeah, he swiped. That was not King's Landing.
No, that was not King's Landing. The eye
Yeah.
stabbing scene was
Yeah.
King's
Yeah.
Landing for sure. Yeah. But I don't know, dude. Essos is let's see if we can look. Essos is popping in my head for whatever reason. Why? Because I thought that's where Damon and his wife like went to, right? I could have
Aemon
swore.
claims Vagar and House of C7. The same night of Laena Valerian's funeral, Aemon conspires to steal her dragon, which involves
It's hers
Vagar.
after the childbirth. So it is Essos, right?
Yes. Yes. Because
Oh, it's
so her
Driftmark.
mother, yeah, her mother had it then, and she
So
was
her
gonna
mother had it,
inherit it.
yes. Yep.
Her mother
Yep.
died. She was gonna inherit it, but he goes out there and steals it. Yeah, so they were all there for that funeral.
So it's the Driftmark is
Yeah. It's not
Valerian
Essos.
house.
Driftmark
No,
is
it's
like a
not.
little further past
Dragonstone.
Dragonstone. Yeah.
Yeah.
All in that big bay that leads up to King's Landing.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay, I'm glad we remembered
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Glad we sorted that out. Yeah, man. I'm excited. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see where we're going here.
Yeah, and I read I think this is like a couple weeks ago. I think it was like one of the first like reviews of it, and it was just one of those people that are really hung up on all the names. Like, yeah, the names are confusing, but like don't go so far as like they all look alike. Like, yeah, they look similar because they're related. I mean, but like, what do you want them to look like? All different,
Dude,
drastically?
so
And it's not like the
I
show
get
people wrote their names like
right,
Yellow
right.
George. Like, geez, don't blame
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah. I think that season 1 was confusing just in the fact that all of that mixed with the time jumps. The time jumps hung a lot of people up, obviously, because we were jumping
Sure.
virtually every season several years or every episode several years. So I think that you should just power through that first season, man. If you couldn't, just power through it because I don't think we're going to be getting many time jumps from this point forward.
Right. And I mean, I don't know, just for instance, imagine season 1 not existing and just starting at season 2. Like, people would be so upset. They wouldn't know anything. They'd be like, what's
Right.
happening? Why does
Yep.
this matter? Like, season 1 is incredibly important. Also, season 1 showed a lot of cool things that we didn't get to see in Game of Thrones, like peacetime, King's Landing, like the tournaments and
Yeah.
all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like if you're gonna complain about the names and like everyone looking alike, it's like if I were to make a show about the Bible and be like, why all these people got like these boring names, John,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
Hall,
I think
but change their name,
it's
make
weird.
it cooler.
It's weird to me to hear people that like were diehard Game of Thrones fans that didn't like House of the Dragon. Like I just don't. I can't even comprehend that. I think
I don't know.
it's on the track for me personally. It's on the track to potentially be Game of Thrones. Now, there's obviously that's a big hurdle to get over, and Game of Thrones didn't stick to the landing. We know this. But
Close
yeah,
enough.
it's on track to beat it for me. I think it's cool.
I
It's
mean,
a
if
cool
I were at
story.
this point, yeah, at this point, if I were to like someone who hasn't seen either, I would just say start with House of the Dragon first.
Yeah,
It's way more mature of a production. It's also like more compact as a story, as confusing as it might be. Like it hits all the marks and gets you introduced to a lot of Game of Thrones things. And I don't know, to me it would be cool to like redo life and maybe watch this first and then watch Game of Thrones and be like, oh, they're talking about that I
yeah,
literally
yeah,
seen. Like
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be cool.
That would definitely be cool. Yeah, I think I think that's a fine strategy. If you're not even remotely interested, but everybody's telling you to watch one of these shows, House of the Dragon is maybe the one to jump into.
Game of Thrones is
But you're going to be
daunting.
doing it
And
backwards. Yeah, right.
yeah,
You're going to be doing it backwards from everybody else, right? So,
we will see on Sunday. It's not far away.
yeah, it's
When
not.
this airs, it'll be like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's go. We're already
Yeah.
we're ahead in time right now, Chad. We're in the future.
We are. We are
As we record this.
in a little
So
time capsule here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited, man. It snuck up on me. Like I said, it snuck up on me even
big time.
after seeing the trailer. Holy shit. Like this is already coming out. Like what the hell? But I'm excited. I'm a little salty about a couple things. I'm salty about the 8 episodes. That's shitty.
Not off to a good start.
Not off to a great start. But that being
I thought
said,
they're trying to Mandela effect me because they're and be like they were all the first season 1 was 8 episodes. I'm like no 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 no
yeah,
no no no.
I confirm. Yeah, I went back and looked at that too because when I read the 8 episodes, I was like, shit, was maybe season 1 was 8 episodes too. And I
I made
definitely
10
got
thumbnails
Mandela affected
for
too. Yeah.
our companion
Yeah.
series. I was like, nope, not this time.
Yep.
Not this time. All
Yeah.
right. Here we go.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you got? Anything else?
Nope, that's it. We will
Yeah. I think we're
uh
good.
see you all every Thursday after the most recent episode premiere. So we'll be back next Thursday, which I think is like the 20th, with our recap and breakdown of the first episode. Just just about midpoint before the next episode releases, so it gives people enough time to digest the episode and then get ready for the next one. So we'll be back. This was episode 0 where we just get hype about it, catch up on some things, remember how people get certain dragons because that's important. Vagar was just on the beach just taking a nap and he got
Yeah.
stolen. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you later. Peace. I like that they actually have a really good like image for this season. And I hate when series don't have like good promo images. This one's really good because you can just see it in their eyes. It's
It's
stressful.
great.
It's not
Yep.
going to be good. They're
Yep.
practically bleeding from the eyeballs.